Good morning, 19th of March 2019 is a minute past 8 CT time. Piotr here. This is a morning market preview. This is a pre-London preview for light Forex. Alright, let's start with risk warning, guys. Please bear in mind trading FX on margin carries a high level of risk. May not be suitable for all investors. You can sustain a loss of some or all your initial investments, so please do not invest the money that you cannot afford to lose. Okay. There you go. First reminder, today at 2 p.m. CET time, we are going to have educational live trading room here on YouTube channel, Light Forex YouTube channel. So yeah, you are more than welcome to join. Again, it's 2 p.m. CET time. Okay. What happened during the Tokyo session? Actually, there was only minutes from the last RBA meeting. Huge uncertainty over there. So let me put some info on the chart for you. There you go. Not big mover. I'm talking about the Australian dollar. So where we are from that perspective. All right. So let's have a look from the higher time frame. We are trying to go a little bit higher. There is a dynamic supply based on this falling trend line, but still I do believe that a little bit higher levels are possible. And as I mentioned last week, right, if we are gonna to hold the psychological 70 level and bulls are gonna be able to move and close above 71.50, the next stop is gonna be around 72, 72.25, the next 73, and the final one 75. It's of course a long way ahead, and we are talking about the medium term. But yeah, this week FOMC, so there is a first chance to try to push Aussie dollar a little bit higher, especially that the indices like Nasdaq are trying to hold the ground ahead of the end of the quarter, right? So in that case, yeah, not bad. Anyway, if we are talking about the Aussie shorter term, we are talking about this falling trend line. We are talking about the price action which had place 26th of February, right? In that case, we are talking about 71.40 to 71.50 as the first possible supply. How does it look like on lower time frame here on Aussie dollar? Yeah, there is a possible demand down towards the weekly open below 71 towards 70.85, and if we agree about some range below that level, so then we are talking about the another possible demand around 70.65, 70.50, right? It's some kind M formation over here, megaphone formation created over here. So there is a possibility as we had 3 touches to the downside, and the final third touch is to the upside, one-to-one correction. It might happen that this one-to-one it will turn to the bigger one-to-one like this. So in that case, retest of the weekly open and retest of the 70.65, 70.60. So mid-line of this megaphone formation could take place, and we may see market will start to rally from here. That's from the bulls perspective, intraday bulls perspective. I'm looking for attempt to break lower. I'm looking for attempt to break below the weekly open. I'm looking for retest 70, 80, 70, 60, and that's where I'm looking from the bullish side to try to join longs, right? On the other hand, the bears, I would be very, very careful from the bearish perspective, trying to sell breaks lower while we are above 70. What would be my approach into short side, right? As I mentioned, based on the daily, we are approaching this falling trend line. What I would like to see, another attempt to rally. I'm sorry, I would like to see another attempt to rally here, right? Trying to take out yesterday high, trying to take out the stops above the trend line, and in that case we may see 71.40 plus and rejection around this level, especially if we are gonna to look into the left side over here. That's where possible supplies should be available here on Aussie dollar. So trying to summarize, Aussie to the downside 70, 80, 70, 65, to the upside something around 71.40, 71.50 from the intraday perspective. That's how it looks after the RBA minutes. Okay, what else? At 10:30 CET time, we are going to get the UK job markets data, especially from the FX perspective. Average earnings are going to be watched by the market. Same as I'm always saying when we are awaiting FOMC. The headline is the headline, right? But from the FX perspective, always the devil is in details. So in that case, earnings same here today at 10:30 a.m. But we know that it's not about the earnings overall in regards to the pound. Maybe after the data we are going to see some short-term moves, but overall it's all about the Brexit still, and we were supposed to have meaningful vote, parliamentary vote today, later today, late afternoon, but it's not going to happen. All right. So in relate to the British pound, what we have, the Financial Times, Tories demand May departure date in return for passing Brexit deal. So Tories want to say goodbye to Theresa May. There you go. And that's the link to Financial Times. Then we have the Sun. And there you go. So it's good morning reading. Tory Brexiters, they don't like Brexit delay by a year. There you go, that's the link. Another The Sun article. And looks like at least for now, that Theresa May only get helpful hand from EU. No, she's like, she looks like she lost everything in UK. So helping hand may come from EU based on the Guardian news. So that's the good morning reading related to the Brexit. So what about British pound? So more and more uncertainty, right? As we discussed yesterday, there is a range for now. We're trying to take out the stops at the bottom of that range yesterday. There you go. That's the Friday low, and that's what we've seen yesterday, right? So we are still trying to hold above 32 to the upside. 33 as the first one possible supply, then as we discussed yesterday, higher towards 33.50, 33.80. Okay, if we are looking for extension after the breakout, then the simplest measure is to trying to double the original range, right? In that case, we were talking to the upside, we are talking about the 134 as a next target based on the narrower range, and something around 31 to the downside. And if we are gonna to take the wider range into the consideration, still without the shadows, then we've got to the downside, we've got psychological 130 level, and to the upside we do have 135. All right, both are quite important levels from the pound perspective. What I'm gonna to look for, it's a little bit tricky because of the FOMC tomorrow, right? So even we may see weaker pound, but not necessarily versus USD. If we are gonna to see overall dollar sell-off, so we may not see the pound USD going lower. So in that case, maybe we may try to watch pound via euro or pound yen, and we are gonna to have a few seconds with pound yen as well. Here on dollar pound, so we took out the stops to the downside, right? There was a bounce into the close, all right. Asian markets was trying to push pound higher. So what I'm looking for, if we are still discussing the range, the good thing is the top of that range is also the this week open, right? So in that case, during the London session, attempt to move higher, trying to take out Tokyo high, something like this. Attempt to move higher, hitting the weekly open, hitting this yesterday high. Maybe we will try to hunt more stops towards yesterday high, and then some kind of the rejection, and it's gonna be better visible on a small time frame. That might be short setup, right? That's what I'm gonna to look for the rejection of the attempt of move higher, right? So that's my plan. There are plenty of different possibilities, but at least for now, that's what I'm looking for, right? Then after the London Open, market either is going to confirm my scenario, or if we are gonna to see the breakout to the upside, then I'm gonna to look to try to buy pullback, right? But my personal basic scenario for now is trying to watch carefully around the weekly open, any attempt to break higher with rejection, and that might be my short setup. So let's switch to the smaller time frame here. All right, right now we are testing some kind of I would call it typical supply zone, but because we are moving within the range, our approach should be a little bit different in that case, right? So I'm looking for a little bit higher levels towards the weekly open. So the shadows from yesterday's session, that's something I'm looking for here on the pound. Let's switch lower if we can have something here, and we see yeah, and we see here the combination of these tops over here, right? So in that case, because of the range, because we had the stop hunt to the downside, I would like to see some attempt to hunt for stops a little bit above 133 with rejection. All right. So hopefully that's clear. That's how it looks from the pound USD perspective. I've mentioned pound yen, and here if we are gonna to get weaker pound, right? And we are approaching end of the fiscal year in Japan, right? 31st of the March. So yen may try to get back home. What I like here on the pound yen from the intraday perspective, but first let's switch to the daily, and we are within the possible supply based on the daily chart, right? So again, last week another upper shadows, right? Yesterday I've been looking to retest this last week high. Unfortunately, we didn't get it. So let's switch to the lower time frame. We do have this range over here, where last Thursday we were trying to take out Wednesday high, right? And bulls failed here. So in that case, this one particular candle, especially when we on the hourly chart, when we close below, it's confirmed hidden supply in my opinion, right? Then we never even went closer. What I would like to see, because of the late New York stop hunting to the downside and move back into the range, right? It was at some point it was possible that we may see attempt to try to hunt some stops to the upside, right? Because once we are within the range, all the money the market makers are making is trying to hunt stops both sides, right? But because of the very quiet Asia, right? Because of the very quiet Asia, there was no rush to push the prices higher, and we are right now within this possible supply over here, right? And we are holding this zone over here, as you can see, right? I'm gonna to look for the price action right after the London Open, so within next 1 hour or 2 hours, approaching the UK job market data, right? And looks like there is not enough money for now at least to push the prices higher. So I wouldn't be surprised that we are gonna to see another attempt to move lower, and especially if we are gonna to close below this manipulation zone over here, we may see activation of this supply to the downside, right? So once we are gonna to close below, so we may see something similar to the downside on the pound yen. The first possible target in that case, trying to double the range, and we are talking about the 145.85, and then some stops to the downside, taking into the consideration this manipulation point. We are talking about 44.50, 44.40 as a possible target for this move on pound yen. Okay, so that's how it looks from the pound yen perspective. What next? At 11 a.m. CET time, we do have German ZEV sentiment, and where we are from the euro-dollar perspective. Okay, first important thing is that yesterday we've had 1250 option expiration above billion. Today we do have 1.2 billion euro at 113, so we are getting closer and closer, and 113 is a quite psychological level right now from the bulls and bears perspective. I'm gonna to explain in a second. So from the higher time frame, where we are on the euro dollar, we are approaching the monthly open. Yesterday we tested the 1st of March low. Am I right? Or even last February low. Anyway, with rejection. So Friday we had a higher shadow. Yesterday higher shadow, and what is important from my perspective, or from the bears perspective, that bears were able again close the day in a quite good zone, right? Because on Friday there was an attempt to break higher on Friday, trying to create at some point rally based continuation, right? But end of the day it was the upper shadow, long upper shadow, and we closed below the Thursday open. Yesterday was another attempt to go higher. We were trying to take out last week high and again and Friday high, and again bulls were able to push and close price below last week high. There is another attempt right now to go higher, but still I strongly believe that we are not gonna go much higher unless there is something significant happen before the FOMC tomorrow, right? So what I'm gonna to look for is again to reject the attempt to rally, and either we are gonna to fail already here around the Friday high, or we will try to hunt for more stops above yesterday high towards the monthly open, red color, red dotted line, towards 1370. So that's what I'm gonna look for here on euro dollar. And again, we may see some delay reaction as we have at 11, so we may not see immediately the move on the euro dollar right after the London Open. Market may want to wait a bit and to wait to see what the German ZEV sentiment is going to be. All right, so that's how the things looks here. So that's the positives for the bears, but there are many positive things for the bulls as well, right? In that case, what we discussed yesterday, especially we are still holding above this pre-ECB high, and that's the key development. So we may discuss that this Thursday move to the downside, it was the false break. So in that case, once we moved and closed above, we may see the same distance to the upside. In that case, we are talking about 1450.15, right? So there are no changes into my trading plan I had yesterday. So from the bears perspective, trying to fade this first approach to the monthly open. All right. And yesterday we were talking about the zone in between 1275, 1245. I have to rise a bit. I mean, the zone below is still valid, right? But looks like for now 113, it's getting more and more important, and it's because of this level related to the pre-ECB price action we've seen 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, right? So in that case, no change into the plan, trying to fade attempt to move higher around monthly open within this intraday supply zone. In terms of the attempt to going long, first is watch price action around the 113, all right? So I do believe that this weekly open is gonna to be tested, and for example, if it's going to happen immediately right after the London Open, so some stop hunting to the downside. So in that case 113 might be in play. If we are going to break 113, 112.75, 112.40 might be in play here from the euro dollar perspective. All right, there is nothing extraordinary if we are talking about the agenda during the US session. All right, so we can switch to the commodities and we can have a look on the crude oil. There is a possibility we are going to create this megaphone formation where the top of this megaphone is approaching 60, and from the daily perspective 60 and above 60, that's the almost the target of this big inverted head and shoulders formation. Just a reminder, today we are going to get the private API data, and tomorrow we are going to get the official crude oil inventories EEA data, right? So watch out for bearish signs, and I would say because of this mega formation we are going to see either some kind of the double top, maybe on a smaller time frame where the second top is a little bit higher, or we are going to see some kind of the head and shoulders formation on the smaller time frame. And like this, right? But before that happen, we may see attempt to retest the middle line of this megaphone formation. So from the bull's perspective, why not to try to take the advantage of it, right? So in that case, there are two levels where bulls may look for joining the party to the upside. The first one, we saw this early breakout to the upside, right? So the bottom of this candle as the possible demand zone. So in that case, if we are talking about this as a possible demand, what I would like to see, I would like to see some kind of the test. So trying to visualize this, either I'm gonna look for test like with the long shadow, right? And if the body is gonna be negative, I want to see the breakout. If the body is gonna be positive, I want to see I'm not gonna wait for any kind of the confirmation. That might be the entry, right? On the second attempt, the second possibility to join the party might be with a retest of the top of this consolidation we saw the breakout of yesterday, right? So a little bit lower, and trying to get the exact possible entry. So we may try to take the range of this breakout candle, trying to move lower, and in that case is something around 28.30 based on the chart I'm using here. So that's how I see the crude oil. And yeah, and there was one or two requests about Bitcoin. So yeah, we can discuss crypto, and we can expand into the other cryptos. Today this morning we are going to discuss Bitcoin only, but again, if you are interested, then during our afternoon meeting, again, reminder, we have a meeting later today at 2 p.m. CET. So let's switch to Bitcoin. There you go. Okay, that's the daily chart. From the higher time frame perspective, so we are talking about the medium term here. for quite some time, bulls were trying to defend 6,000 level, 5,800, right? And then we saw this huge breakdown to the downside, and we never retest this level. Taking into the consideration current price action, this kind of the range in between 3,200 and 4,200, right? I do expect we are gonna to attempt at least to move higher, trying to expand and double this latest range. In that case, we may see retest of this 6,000, 5,800, right? From the medium term perspective, as long as we are above last or most recent lows, right here around 3,200. On the other hand, from the intraday perspective, I like what we've seen here. So there is a, in my opinion, this move to the downside over here, that was the manipulation to the downside, so trying to accumulate more longs in that case, right? And taking into the consideration what we've seen after this move to the downside, no continuation, right? Range, right? Move higher, all right? So I do believe that we do have another range, break higher, all right? At what we have right now, another range, and we may see another attempt to move higher. And yeah, I do believe that we are gonna to get some answer what next here. When we are gonna to hit these stops, either we are gonna to reject at 4,200, so in that case we will probably retest lower levels again, or finally we may take out this 4,200 close above and trying to rally and retest this huge breakdown level around 6,000, 5,800. So attempt to join this party, this intraday party, so watching this last consolidation phase, and if I'm gonna to see attempt to move lower, which is going to be rejected, so that might be invitation to try to move a little bit higher. All right, guys, just a reminder, the March is the first month we do have this type of the meetings. As I've explained already, in April we are going to have the webinars, right, within the webinar room, inside the webinar room, where I'm going to explain few strategies, and especially what is from my perspective even more important, I'm gonna to explain my risk taking, right? What kind of the risk I'm taking. So for now, as you don't know these details, the only thing you can do is trying to test on the demo account, trying to test as a paper trading, nothing else. Okay, that's it today. I mean, in relation to the pre-London Open, please don't be trapped during this European session, and let's meet together at 2 p.m. CET time. Have a great morning and see you within the next few hours. Take care. Goodbye.
It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Light Forex Social Trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.